What's going on, guys? Welcome back to today's second stimulus check update and stimulus package update. Today is Friday, September 4th, so hopefully you have a wonderful Friday and a fantastic weekend. Now, yes, the second stimulus check is still in limbo. We have not had any agreement on it for getting it passed. Okay? However, everybody is out there predicting what's going to happen, what's going to unfold, but the truth is nobody actually knows. I don't know, Nancy Pelosi doesn't know, President Trump doesn't know, Mitch McConnell doesn't know, Steve Mnuchin doesn't know, okay? Elon Musk doesn't know, Jeff Bezos doesn't know. Nobody knows whether you are part of the stimulus negotiations or not. You cannot predict whether or not a stimulus package will get passed and if a second stimulus check will be in it. However, most people are optimistic that a second stimulus check will be included in the next stimulus package that ultimately gets passed. Not proposal, the package that gets passed. And based on all reports currently, as of today, based on all the reports, the one piece of legislation holding up the entire stimulus check to the American people, the enhanced unemployment, additional PPP funding, school funding, and so much more, is the state and local government funding. And this is specifically the $900 billion that Nancy Pelosi is requiring, not just requesting, requiring to be in the next stimulus package. However, Republicans, they want to start at $150 billion. They believe that's more than enough. However, Nancy Pelosi wants $900 billion, specifically money for Democratic-run states. And the two states in particular are California and New York. This gap in funding is what is holding everything up. And this is what is keeping millions and millions of Americans in poverty, being poor, having the risk of being evicted, running the risk of not being able to provide for their family, put food on the table, keep their heat on, keep their water on. This is a big issue. Now, somebody asked me this the other day, and I want to kind of read what they said, and their exact quote is, "Why can't a state and local government bill be passed on its own so that Nancy Pelosi and Republicans can negotiate on this later without the American people getting hurt by it?" This was a great question. I've seen this multiple times and I want to address this. Let me explain what is going on here and why this won't happen. I want to be very clear. The Nancy Pelosi specifically will not, absolutely will not, pass state and local government funding in its own bill unless it is passed first. Okay, which Republicans will not do. So, if Nancy Pelosi and Democrats were to agree to pass other pieces of legislation, right? For example, second stimulus check, funding for the post office, PPP funding, school funding, food and rental assistance, and even unemployment extension. Okay, that would be great. But if they leave state and local government funding out of the bill, Democrats are worried that Republicans will not honor their word and will find excuses as to why they can't later on negotiate that bill or end up passing a bill to provide state and local governments with the funding that they ultimately need. So this right here is just Nancy Pelosi positioning herself in the middle. She's the one that's preventing millions of Americans from getting a second stimulus check, unemployment extension, PPP funding, school funding, all that stuff. Okay? So, by drawing a hard line and demanding $900 billion in state and local government funding to be included in the next stimulus package, Nancy Pelosi is essentially the reason why Americans can't get any more funding. Now, don't get me wrong. Just because Nancy Pelosi is the one holding everything up right now, she was not the one holding everything up back in March. It was actually May and June that the Republicans were using their technique of let's wait and see, that wait and see approach, Well, it was Republicans that were holding everything up back then. Ultimately, if Republicans and Democrats could have agreed back in the end of or the beginning of June, we could have seen a second stimulus check. We could possibly be on a third stimulus check and additional stimulus packages, but nothing happened. So I don't want to take sides and say, oh, it's just been Democrats that have been, holding up everything, or it's just been Republicans. It has truly been both sides of the aisle that have prevented the American people from getting the funding that they need. Now, we do have good news though, right? Yesterday, Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin tentatively agreed to work to avoid a shutdown and keep the government open, and that the best way to do that is a clean CR. CR simply stands for continuing resolution. Now, the good news here, okay, this is good news because the government funding bill being tentatively agreed on, okay, that leaves both parties open to negotiate the stimulus package bill. They don't have to worry about, some days negotiating the stimulus package, other days negotiating the government funding bill. They can now focus on just the stimulus package. Now, it is a tentative agreement that they are going to work and keep it clean. However, they obviously still have to do it. So we'll see what happens there. Again, the deadline is October 1st, so they have to get it done by then, which most people think they will. Now, what you need to understand about this is, and one of the reasons why this is really good news, is because it has been reported that if it came down to a government funding bill and a stimulus bill, the precedents right now and leading up to that October 1st deadline, the precedents would have been on the government funding bill, which would have meant that the stimulus package was on the back burner. But to the American people, the stimulus package is what they need. They need that additional unemployment. They need that stimulus check. They need that rental assistance. That is what they need. Okay? And that is the problem. That's why this is really good news. However, with that said, some congressional leaders believe that combining the two bills into one negotiation, so instead of having the government funding bill and the stimulus package bill negotiated at different times, if they put those two bills together, these congressional leaders believe that this would increase the odds of both being passed as opposed to just one. And when it comes to just one, it's pretty much a given that the government funding bill will be passed. It will be agreed upon. Last year, I believe it was last year, President Trump was the one that kind of delayed this bill, and the government actually shut down for, I believe, over 30 days. It was like anywhere from 30 to 35 days. The government was shut down because he really wanted funding to build the wall. So, now, some people do believe that if the two are put together, they will both get passed. Now, others believe this might be the last resort, that Republicans aren't talking about this, Democrats aren't talking about this, because this could be the Trump administration's last resort to get stimulus package and get that thing passed before the upcoming election. Now, I have some more good news as well. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is calling on Democrats to pass another comprehensive bipartisan relief bill. Now, this bill would most likely be less than $2 trillion and only address the most pressing needs of the American people. Again, that would be stimulus checks, unemployment, the USPS funding, state and local government funding, school funding, PPP funding, rental assistance, and also nutrition assistance. That is what will most likely be in this. There will be other things as well. However, in order to keep the bill as light as possible and keep it under $2 trillion, which we've already heard Steve Mnuchin say, Republicans will not vote on something. Anything over $2 trillion is dead in the water. So why would Democrats keep going back to the drawing board, keep doing different proposals when they know nothing will pass? Now, the good news here is that Nancy Pelosi is now going to get pressure from within her own party. She's already getting pressure from the Republican Party. Now she's going to get pressure from within her own party, which is going to require her to pivot and get a bill passed quickly. Chuck Schumer, he is trying to do that. Mark Meadows is trying to do that. Mitch McConnell has been nowhere to be found. He's not part of these negotiations. It's Mark Meadows, Steve Mnuchin, and Nancy Pelosi. Those are the three people negotiating. Those are the three most important people right now. If you want and you need a second stimulus check, those three people are the three people that you want to hear everything about. Now, this news, along with the skinny bill that is supposed to be revealed by Senate Republicans this coming week, this could mean a stimulus package is getting closer to passing than previously expected. This is really good news because as of Wednesday, Mitch McConnell, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, said that he is not optimistic about a stimulus package getting passed this month. So in the month of September. So he's saying the month of September, we still might not see a stimulus package passed. He's not that optimistic. But again, he is not in the negotiations. He does get filled in, but he is not physically in the negotiations, which in my opinion is a very big problem. Now let's address unemployment because unemployment is not going away. Based on an article from CNBC, they say that roughly 29 million people are claiming unemployment benefits. That is very close. Now, while there's 29 million people that are claiming unemployment benefits, they estimate 13.5 million people of these people are getting their benefits under the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. That is for self-employed, gig workers, and those who wouldn't normally get unemployment benefits. So almost 50% of everybody that's on unemployment is getting it because of the PUA, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. That is big. That is going to be huge. This Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program expires at the end of 2020, which means that roughly half of all unemployment claims will completely fall off the charts. This also means that this group of people would lose all benefits entirely, no matter if their job is waiting for them or not. No matter if their business closed, still open, could open, it doesn't matter. They would lose every single benefit from unemployment. The unemployment crisis is very bad right now. But if the economy can't reopen very soon and people can't get back on their feet quickly, then this crisis is only going to get worse come January 2021. Now, speaking of unemployment, California tried to do something that no other states have really tried to do. California on Monday attempted to get lawmakers to pass a bill that would include $600 per week in unemployment, but that didn't pass. They also tried to include funding for wildfire prevention, which would have created new jobs because many jobs have since gone away, completely vanished. However, that didn't pass either. They did, however, manage to pass legislation that offers low-income tax credits to undocumented Californians. That is one thing that many people were a little bit hurt by, wondering why should undocumented people in the state of California receive a low-income tax credit. Well, gotta ask the governor there. Now, I mentioned something in yesterday's video. If you didn't get a chance to go and watch that, I will link to both of yesterday's videos down in the description box below. However, I referenced a hazard pay situation. Okay? A hazard pay strike could be coming. And I want to keep you informed on that because it might affect you. If you remember from yesterday's video, I told you that there is a campaign by the United Food Workers Union that is trying to get companies to reinstate hazard pay. They are trying to get companies like Whole Foods, Kroger, Walmart, and even Albertsons to reinstate their hazard pay. During the initial stages of the pandemic, many companies were more than willing to offer hazard pay to their employees. But this later was removed, and their workers have not received any other form of gratitude for working through this pandemic. Some companies were giving a $100 bonus every month. Others were giving like $1, $2, $3 per hour bonus on top of their original wages. Well, yesterday, workers at Kroger grocery stores in Virginia, West Virginia, and Maryland put on rallies to demand hazard pay for all grocery store employees. Here's the reason why this is so important and the reason why I'm bringing it to your attention. Because if you work for Kroger, Whole Foods, Walmart, or even Albertsons, and there's other grocery store chains out there, but if you work for these companies and you are not currently getting some form of hazard pay or pandemic pay, then just understand these rallies in West Virginia, Virginia and Maryland, could ultimately give you some form of hazard pay. And as of right now, for Kroger, they were getting $2 per hour as a bonus, and that was on top of a $300 bonus per month, or a one-time bonus, and then it was $2 per hour up until I think it was May 16th. Yeah, it was May 16th. So they were paying their employees very well. They were getting a little bit of a bonus for working, which is great, but that has since been removed, and many employees are demanding that it gets added back on. Now, I said this yesterday and I'm going to say it again. Sometimes a strike doesn't always work out. However, if you are organized and everybody is on the same page, then you hold all the leverage, and the company that you are going on strike with, they will most likely cave to your demands. Because if not, and every single Kroger employee there's unified, if every single person goes on strike, the company cannot make money. They cannot open their doors until they hire new people. Well, if those new people see you out on the front of the store going on strike, chances are they're not gonna work. So just understand that going on strike can be very effective, but there could also be ramifications from this. So just understand that. All right, guys, there you have it. That is your second stimulus check update and stimulus package update for today, Friday, September 4th. Again, hopefully you have a wonderful Friday, an incredible weekend. Make sure, if you haven't done so already, go ahead, smash that thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you guys on the next one.